Hey, what's going on everyone? Axel here, back for another video. In this one, I'm going to do the next part of my tier list, which is now going on to the low-high tiers, what I'm going to label as the A- tier. Before I get started, as a disclaimer, like in every one of these tier list videos, I'm not claiming this to be perfect. I'm not claiming to be a high-level player. I'm not. I'm more of a mid-level player. This is just my opinion, and I'm just making this video for fun. It's not meant to be 100% accurate or anything. It's just something that's fun to talk about, and it's just meant to represent what I think is a mid-level player, and as an avid fan of the high-level Smash 4 scene. So, on the A- tier, I separated these characters from A mainly because I think that their chances to win a national is significantly lower, and I think there's quite a bit of a gap between Ryu and these next characters. But I do think these next characters that I'm going to throw out here are the last characters capable of winning a national. Of solo manning winning a national. I don't think any other character in the game is capable of it right now. So the characters I picked for this tier are Meta Knight, Pikachu, Yoshi, Dark Pit, and Regular Pit. I'm just going to consider them one character, and Mewtwo. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning here with Meta Knight. Now, Meta Knight's a character that has seen a big nerf in patch 1.1.5. He was the other character that was nerfed very significantly along with Sheik. His bread and butter combo, which is his up air to up B, which before the patch killed people really early. Some characters, lighter characters, can die as early as like third. If they get dash attacked or down thrown, they can die as early as like 30 or 40% off of a grab or a dash attack. The lighter characters, and the other ones would die while not that low. If you got dash attacked at say 50-60% or down thrown, there's a good chance you were dead. And that combo is now harder to perform, and you cannot drag your opponent as high up towards the blast zone as you could before, because in patch 1.1.5 his when you get up aired now from Meta Knight, it used to bring you straight up. Now it brings you more to the side. So that means you can't drag people up quite as far. So that was a pretty significant nerf for him. So he's seen a drop, I think. I think before that patch, I would have put him in A tier for sure. If not at the middle or higher end of A tier, because he was really coming on strong until that nerf happened. So Meta Knight, his real weakness that brings him down to A- is, even though the nerf, he's still a great character even after the nerf, but his real weakness is his range is a little lacking, and his neutral is not very good at all. It was actually improved a bit by the nerf patch 1.1.5. I believe it was his forward air lost some landing lag, so that actually helped his neutral a little bit. But still, overall, he's a character that suffers from being outranged, and he's also quite predictable, because even though that nerf happened, his up air to up B combo is still his bread and butter. It's still a great, very powerful tool. And for some characters, for example, Rosalina, their physics, weight, hitbox size, and floatiness are of such that the nerf really didn't affect them. If you want to watch, if you want to see proof of this, go watch the Abadango versus the Buzz set at Pound. You'll see Abadango drag Rosalina up to top of the blast zone and kill her early many times. So that combo, even though it's harder to perform and doesn't work quite as well on some characters, and you can't drag characters up as high in the blast zone, it's still a very powerful tool, and it's the main tool that makes him a high tier character still. He also has some other decent tools. His tornado, I believe it says down B. It cannot be DI. It might be his neutral B. I can't remember. I don't play Meta Knight a whole lot. It cannot be mashed out of, as far as I know, and it's like 20 some damage. He has probably the best recovery in the entire game because he has multiple jumps, and his up B is just impossible to mess with. It has excellent priority, and the sword is disjointed. So he still has a lot of good qualities. He also has a very powerful forward smash because it has a pretty good knockback and very low lag. You can actually throw it out in neutral, and it's a pretty good tool in neutral. And even though his neutral isn't that good compared to the higher tiers, it's still good by average standards. There's still a lot of characters with way worse neutrals. So he's still a very good character, very threatening still, and I think he's going to continue to do well even though that nerf happened. And I think people are definitely underestimating him after the nerf, because that nerf, while it did affect him, it didn't destroy the character by any means. He's still a very great character, and that's still a very, very powerful tool. Alright, that's enough for Meta Knight. Let's move now to Pikachu. Pikachu is a character that a lot of people thought was like top 5 months and months ago, but he's really fallen off because basically for one reason, and that's ESAM. ESAM is basically the only sorry, my chair is squeaking here, guys. ESAM is basically the only high-level Pikachu main. I think the cat also plays Pikachu a bit, and there's a couple others, like I think Pika Pika is a pretty high-level Pikachu. You see him do well. You actually saw him do pretty well at Get On My Level this past weekend. But Pikachu has kind of dropped off because ESAM has dropped off. You haven't seen ESAM go to as many tournaments, and the tournaments he has gone to, he hasn't placed quite as well. Like, I think at the beginning of Smash 4's metagame, a lot of people considered ESAM a top 5 player, and I don't think you can do that anymore, not with him finishing outside of top 8 pretty often in his appearances at Nationals, and getting upset as much as he has. And I think a lot of that has to do with Pikachu as a character. I think she was a character that was overrated, and I think is still overrated. While Pikachu has some amazing aspects of her, like her edge guarding, which is excellent. Her projectile actually wraps around the stage. She can go off stage really well because her quick attack is just ridiculous. Even though it doesn't have a hitbox, it's still one of the best recoveries in the game because you can literally get back from like almost anywhere. Pikachu also is extremely tiny and fast moving, so he's one of the hardest characters in the game to hit. Pikachu also has some pretty okay-ish kill setups. But in general, the character, I think, has 2 main flaws. The character can struggle to kill, and often can't kill you at until higher percents. So unless you get some kind of hard read, like get F smashed off the side or something. So I think the character is somewhat prone to being janked out. I also think the main weakness of the character is the range issues. The character, because it has Pikachu has such small range, really has really bad range compared to most of the other high and top tiers. Pikachu is always at risk of getting hit and punished for a lot of stuff in neutral. So that's really the main issue with the character. And I think ESAM, he's done a lot of videos, if you check out his channel, about Pikachu. I just don't see it. I've always thought Pikachu was overrated, and I think he still overrates Pikachu. I think in his Pikachu matchup videos, he gave Pikachu only like 3 unfavorable matchups, and I just don't see it. I think Pikachu goes even or loses to most all of the characters above him, with a few exceptions. I think Pikachu definitely beats Zero Suit Samus, might beat Diddy Kong. Probably goes even-ish with Sheik now. I think Pikachu loses to Cloud, even though ESAM thinks Pikachu wins solidly. I just don't see it, even though Pikachu can gimp Cloud. I think that Cloud's ability to force Pikachu to approach, and just the huge difference in range, makes the matchup slightly in Cloud's favor, in my opinion. I'm also not convinced he beats Rosalina. I think that's more of an evenish matchup, and I just don't see it. I think a lot of his matchups with the top and high tiers are more even or slightly disadvantageous. So I think Pikachu is right here, and due to the lack of results, also I think justifies the spot. Outside of ESAM, no one is doing anything with Pikachu hardly, and it's a sign that when you see a character that everyone says is good but doesn't get any results, and still doesn't get any results, there's usually a reason why that happens, and it's usually because the character is overrated. Also, it shows you just how the character isn't that great when actually no one is playing the character but ESAM, really. If competitive players in Smash 4, they play the best characters because they want to win, and if no one's playing Pikachu, what does that say about the character? So Pikachu, not to say he's not a good character, still a very good character. I just don't think it's definitely high tier. I just don't think the character is top 10 and definitely not top 5. And I think results prove that. So let's move on to Yoshi, another character which honestly the same boat as Pikachu, but everyone says is really good, but just doesn't get any results. Yoshi, a lot like Mario, has really good frame data. Egg is a nice zoning tool. Just honestly ridiculous frame data like Mario, and that's the reason why Yoshi's good. Yoshi's down air is absolutely ridiculous. Does like 30, can do like 30% damage. Yoshi has a very good command grab, so it's a little bit scary to shield against Yoshi at times. Yoshi's weaknesses. I think that Yoshi's approach is a bit lacking, and Yoshi's recovery is very abusable. Yoshi actually does not have a true up B, just relies on his jumps. So I think that is one of the things that has kept him from doing that extremely well. But I think mainly, I think Yoshi's actually, I actually think Yoshi's better than Pikachu, but they're very close, and I think Pikachu just is doing better results wise because he has a great player like Esam playing him. But Yoshi's still a very good character, very capable. I think of taking winning a national. It just is going to take a great player to pick Yoshi up. And as of right now, I don't think there's any great top world-class players that are investing serious time and focus into this character. I think Esam is about the only top player that's investing the time. Okay, let's move on to Pit and Dark Pit, which I put in the same place because they're about the same character and about the same power-wise. If you don't know, the only difference between the two characters, from what I know, is Dark Pit's side B has more knockback than regular Pit's, but Pit has more control over his arrows. So what it comes down to is Dark Pit can kill earlier if you get that read with the side B, and regular Pit can gimp better with arrows because you have more control over them. But Pit and Dark Pit, the main representation is from Nairo and from Earth, who's a Japanese player. Earth has done very well in Japan. Nairo's done pretty well with Pit and Dark Pit. Again, not enough people playing this character, and I think all the characters in this tier kind of suffer from this. And I think all of them have potential to go up in a tier. It's just going to take the right player to pick them up. And so far, really no one's playing Dark Pit and Pit other than Earth and Nairo a little bit, but Nairo basically sticks to ZSS these days. Pit is good because his neutral is actually really good. Pit has solid frame data overall, really good dash grab, solid combo game, a reflector which is nice for projectiles, even though it is a bit laggy, more laggy than Mario's, I believe. Pit's weakness is, while Pit and Dark Pit have overall really good tools, they don't have anything that's amazing like some of the top tiers do. Like, they're just very solid overall. And another weakness that kind of holds Pit and Dark Pit back, in my opinion, from being an A tier character is their recovery, which, while it has really good distance, it's very abusable because it has no hitbox and it's quite predictable. So let's move on to the last character I put here, which is Mewtwo. And I don't know if Mewtwo is a high tier character. I only put Mewtwo here because he has to be here, because Abadango just won a national with Mewtwo. Now, I will leave a little disclaimer that the best player that Mewtwo beat all day in that national was Dabuz, and he used Meta Knight for that matchup. So I think people tend to forget that because they go around saying Mewtwo won a national, Mewtwo won a national. Well, not really. Abadango won that national, but the best player he met all day, he beat with Meta Knight. So I don't know if you can say that Abadango really won that national with Mewtwo. He won it with a mix of Meta Knight and Mewtwo. I'm not convinced that Mewtwo would have beaten Dabuz's Rosalina, but Mewtwo definitely did because of Meta Knight definitely did because that's probably Rosalina's worst matchup, and Abadango was able to exploit that on his way to taking Pound. Not to take away from his other matches, though, he did beat some really good players with Mewtwo. Just the best player he played, he did beat with Meta Knight, and you can't overlook that. But Mewtwo overall has really good tools, excellent range. His tail is basically like a sword. He's basically like a sword character. Has a really solid neutral with Shadow Balls. What I see a lot of Mewtwo's do, and I don't know a ton about Mewtwo, but the ones I've played, what I see him do is they'll throw partially charged Shadow Balls, kind of to bait out an action from their opponent or to give them room to get in. Mewtwo also has a really powerful forward air, which can kill early, and one of the best kill throws in the game. Mewtwo's up throw is actually his kill throw, so it really doesn't matter where you are on the stage. He doesn't have to worry about, say like you're Ness and you're on the other side of the stage and you grab someone but you're facing the wrong way and you have to throw them across the whole stage, so your back throw really won't work as well. With Mewtwo, it doesn't really matter. You can grab you anywhere pretty much, and it will kill early, and if he grabs you on a platform, it will kill even earlier. So it's really good. Mewtwo's main thing that's holding him back is obviously his weight and his size, which is really bad, and I actually considered Mewtwo, I considered putting Mewtwo a little bit lower, even though he had won that national with Abadango. And I actually think he's more of a mid-tier, but I have to put him here because Abadango won that national. I'm only putting him here because of results. But Mewtwo can die really stupid early from stuff. Like, he's a really nerve-wracking character to play, because if you can make one mistake and die at like 50% off the side. Mewtwo's a character that has, I know personally, actually in tournament I killed a Mewtwo at like 30% off a Wario Waft. It was pretty bad, like how light Mewtwo is. So it's a little bit of a nerve-wracking character to play, but he's one of these characters that has seen a huge rise in the tier list. Mewtwo used to be considered the worst character in the game, but he's gotten several rounds of buffs, which has made him much better. So he's a very solid character, a good neutral, really powerful now. He's actually more of a glass cannon than he used to be. He actually used to be a glass cannon without enough cannon, but he definitely has enough cannon now. He's become a very scary character, and it's kind of interesting that Abadango actually won that national. I'll be really interested to see how Mewtwo does in the future, to see if he's just overrated, or if Abadango just won that national because it was Abadango, or if he got a very lenient bracket, or if it was actually the character being a high tier character. We're gonna see. We'll see if Mewtwo players can hold up the results. There's also a few other Mewtwo. I don't want to forget about some other Mewtwo players. There's also Mew Squared, who does quite well with Mewtwo. That's the other notable. And then there's a couple other, like I think Blue, and I think there might be one other in Japan. I don't recall the name though. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for my low high tiers. And a little note I want to throw at the end. I know that we got patch 1.1.6, but I'm not going to do this over because the only character that was affected was Bayonetta, so I'll just not change it for now. I'll just go on. It would be honestly pointless for me to start over just because of Bayonetta and like pull her out and put her in a like different tier, because honestly that would just be guessing. This patch just happened like a week ago, and we don't know anything about the new Bayonetta. No one has any idea what she's capable of yet. So it's going to be at least 2 to 3 months before we can actually give her a somewhat accurate tier list placement. Right now, she could be anywhere from S tier to like mid tier. We don't know. So, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please share, like, and subscribe. I will see you next time. Have a good one.